In this video, I'm going to teach you how to set up browser and server-side events in Facebook. So this is going to be how you're going to set up the Meta Conversions API. Now, there's several ways to do this depending on your platform. I'm going to make videos that relate to each method. This method is not the one to use if you have a Shopify store, if you have a WooCommerce store. This is not the best way of integrating it. This is going to be for people who need a more manual setup. So perhaps you're using a ClickFunnels page, or you're using a Go High Level site, or you're using some type of website where you can put Google Tag Manager inside the site, but you can't directly integrate with the Conversions API through some type of integration like Shopify allows you to. So I'll make a separate video on how to do this with Shopify. I'll do a separate one on WooCommerce. This is going to be for all those other use cases where you can't use direct integration. So first things first, let me just show you what it looks like. So I'm inside of business.facebook.com, and I'm inside of the events manager for a pixel. I'm just going to show you what it looks like without the Conversions API, and then what it looks like with the Conversions API. So what this basically does, just a little bit of context, is it sends both a browser and a server event back to Meta. Now, this is really useful because due to cookie policies and things being blocked on different sites and apps, a lot of the time the Meta pixel can't get the data that it used to be able to get. So the Conversions API is like another way of sending that data back into Meta, which will again help with more accurate attribution. It'll also help with advanced matching. So it means that we can actually send back hashed customer data, things like email, name, etc. And that is going to help them match the event that happened with the specific user. And that is going to improve your ad performance ultimately, because the more data that Meta has, the more it can actually action in your favor. Okay, so you can see I'm in a completely fresh ad account. There's no campaigns running. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on the three lines here. I'm gonna click on Events Manager, and that is gonna load up the Events Manager for this specific ad account. And what I'm gonna do is, again, if I click on data sources, there's nothing here. So we need to create a data source. So I'm just gonna click Connect Data. I'm gonna click Web. I'm gonna click Connect. I'm just gonna name this. I'm just gonna name this one UKB2. which is the name of the ad account. Now it's going to ask for a website, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm just going to click the X in that corner because I don't actually want to do that yet. So now we've kind of got our data set, right? We've got our pixel over here. It will give you some options to actually set up using partner integration with Tag Manager. For now, just X out of all of that if that pops up. And we're going to do it a more manual way, okay? So we'll be coming back to here later, but for now, we need to set up Google Tag Manager. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to tagmanager.google.com and you're going to create an account. I have other videos on my channel around creating Google Tag Manager accounts. Essentially what this is Tag Manager is a container that sits on your website. You embed it into your website, and then what it does is you can put code within Tag Manager. So you can come to your Tag Manager account, you can add scripts, codes, etc. And that will fire based on different triggers that happen. Again, we can set all that up within Tag Manager. So things like your lead event, your view content event, your purchase event, whatever events you're trying to set up on Meta, we can set triggers that will dynamically fire those events based on things like page views, based on things like interaction with different elements and forms. And what that will do is that one piece of code, the Tag Manager code, sits on your site, and you can put these other scripts inside it to kind of manage everything. So it's like a bucket that everything else goes inside. That's the easiest way to explain it. If you're unfamiliar with Tag Manager, you might not even be watching this video, but if you're unsure about Tag Manager and you are watching this video, I have other videos on my channel that explain it in a little bit more depth, just so you can understand what it is. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I assume you have some understanding of Tag Manager. What we need to do is we need to create a couple of containers. So once you have your account, I'm just going to click on this one here. I already have a web container set up. If you go to admin, you're going to see here I've got one container. So I'm just going to click this plus over here. I'm going to create a second container, which is going to be my server container. So I'm going to select server down there. I'm just going to give it a name. So I'm just going to call this one UKB server. I'm just going to click create. And that is now going to create the server side container. Now, what we're going to do with this is we're going to click manually provision tagging server. I'm going to copy this string. Now we're going to open a new tab and we're going to go to something state.io. So we're going to go to state.io and we're going to create an account. So just click login and sign up. And here where it says don't already have an account, sign up, we're just going to do that. Okay, so I'm just going to sign up now with my email address. It's going to ask where you use state from. So I'm in the EU, so I'm just going to click EU. And I'm going to click that I agree to the terms, and I'm going to click sign up. So now it's going to send me an email. And when you click the link in the email, it's going to ask you to save a password. So I'm just going to use my password manager here to save this. I'm going to click save. Okay, brilliant. So now we're inside of Stape. So what the kind of purpose of Stape in this whole process is going to act as a bridge between our browser and our server-side container. Now, there are other ways to do this where you don't actually use Stape.io as the kind of bridge and you just use a different platform. You can actually use Google Cloud Platform to do this. However, this is the quickest and easiest way to do it. And depending on how much traffic you're getting, they have free options and also very, very cost-effective options for server-side tagging. So what we've done is we have created an account now, which is good. So what we're going to do is we're just going to, under here where it says recent GTM containers, we're just going to click create container. I'm just going to give this a name. So I'm just going to call this GTM demo container. And where it says container configuration, this is what Google provided us. So I'm just going to paste that code, which was over here. So I'm just going to paste that one into the container configuration, and it's going to locate it in France, which is fine. I'm going to click create container. Now, up to 10,000 requests is free. So that's what I'm going to select first of all. That means up to 10,000 times that the server can kind of send a request back and forth, you're going to be good. Now, there are ways to refresh this if it runs out without having to actually pay for a full account. However, if you are using frequently well over that, you can probably justify spending the $20 a month or €20 a month in this case to get the additional request. This is also a point where you might consider switching your integration to Google Cloud Platform because it can be more cost effective, okay? It's just a little bit more complex. So I'm just gonna click continue with free plan. And I'm just gonna click, it's asking me for my country, so I'm just gonna put that in. I'm just gonna click apply. It's going to ask me for my information. So if it continues to ask you for billing information, you actually don't need to put this in. So you don't need to do that. You can just click back to SGTM container and you can see it's actually running. Okay, so we have our GTM demo container. I've not actually had to put my card details in. So it does kind of prompt you to do that in hopes you will upgrade. I believe they have a system where if you go over the allotted amount, you can actually automatically upgrade the account, which is useful if that's what you need. But if you don't want to get charged, you can just leave it blank. You don't actually have to fill that out. So here we have our tagging container. Okay, so this is set up now on Stape. Now there's a few things we can do. So here we've got our tagging server URLs. So we can use this as the URL, or we can actually add a custom domain. And they highly recommend you add a custom subdomain because it's going to basically help what it says here, corresponds performance with first-party cookies and to use Stape subdomain for test purposes only. So they're saying basically only use this for testing, add your custom domain. So we're gonna actually go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna click add custom domain. Now this domain we're gonna use just for our tagging server. So this doesn't actually have to be a domain that anyone's gonna visit. This can be something unique. So I'm gonna enter my domain I wanna use. I'm gonna use stape.ukbmarketing.com and it's gonna give us some records to add to our DNS, okay? So I'm just going to open up the domain name DNS. This could be hosted with a platform like GoDaddy for yourself, or it could be like Namecheap or Namesilo, whichever one you bought your domain from. So I'm just going to open up mine and I'm going to add this record, and I'll show you me doing that in a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm in Namesilo, which is where I manage the DNS for our domain. So I'm just going to click add an A record. And what it's going to do here, if I go back to this, is it's going to tell me to add it to stape.ukbmarketing.com. And this is the value. So I'm just going to copy that value. I'm just going to put in Stape. I'm just going to paste that in there and click submit. And now that is loading in there, okay? So now I'm going to go back to Stape and I'm going to click verify. So now it's going to verify, and it depends on your domain provider how long this is going to take. It can take a matter of minutes, it can take a couple of hours perhaps if your domain provider takes a while to update the DNS settings. If you're using a kind of a DNS manager, something along the lines of Cloudflare, it's fairly quick, I found. So this is now going to verify. What I'll do is I'll come back once this is verified. Okay, so it's been a little while and Stape has now verified the domain name. So all we have to do is just copy this domain, stape.ukbmarketing.com in my case. And we're going to go back to Tag Manager, okay? And we're just going to click the close button over here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to admin. And we're going to go to container settings on the server side. Okay, this is really important. So we want to make sure over here we have the server container set up. If you're in the browser container, which for me is just called ukbmarketing.com, then it's not going to work. Okay, so you need to go to the server container and go to container settings. And you'll see here it's got this add URL. So we're going to click that and we're going to paste in the URL. And you just have to make sure you've got https:// at the beginning, so it's a proper URL, not just the domain. And then you're going to click save. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to click this button in the top left corner just to go back. I'm just going to click on the container itself, the server container, and I'm going to click preview. Now what this is going to do is it's going to load up this domain, okay? Whichever domain we enter, it's going to load it up here. If this doesn't load, if you get some type of error message, it means something is not configured correctly. But by getting this, loading up this preview window, we know it's working correctly. So we can just close that and move on to the next step. So there's a couple of things we now need to do. So we're going to go into the browser container. I'm going to click on tags. And we're going to add some tags here, okay? But before we do that, we're going to add some templates as well. So go down to templates, and we're going to click new, and we're going to click these three dots here, and we're going to click import. And I'm going to give you a link in the description to download these specific templates. So these are going to be the Ads More template. So I'm going to put a link in the description where you can download these, but we're going to just open the browser tag initially. And that's going to be the one that's the first line of the downloads, okay? So I'll clearly mark them in the description for you. So you're going to download that. It's going to pop up here and you're going to click save. And once it's saved, you can click the X in the left-hand side, okay? So now I'm just going to install the templates that we need to install on the server-side container. So just go to your server-side container, click on templates, and there's two we need to install. One is a client template, so click new, three dots, import, and we're just going to use the server client template. And we're going to click save, and then we're going to click the X. And then under tag templates, we're going to click new, three dots, import, and we're going to select the server tag, and we're going to click save, and then we're going to click the X. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the browser container. We're going to click on tags. We're going to click new. We're going to click on this tag configuration box. And over here, we're going to select Ads More. This is the one that we just added in, okay? Now this is going to give us the option to start adding some of the pixel variables. So I'm just going to name this one Facebook for the Facebook. And I'm just going to call this one base, okay? This is just going to be the one where it's just going to be a page view, okay? Or to be more accurate, we can just call this one page view. So this is the event that we want to just appear on every single page of our site. So what we're going to do is we're going to click into this and we're going to edit some things. So we're going to add a pixel ID by clicking that. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable, because then it's handy because we can use it later on. So inside Tag Manager, you could just paste the pixel ID here, but instead what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable. So I'm going to click on variables and click in add new. I'm going to call this one Facebook pixel ID. I'm going to click on this variable configuration. I'm then going to scroll down to constant, because I just want this to be a constant string. I'm now going to go back to Events Manager. I've got my pixel here. I'm going to click on settings, and where it says dataset ID, I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to go back to Tag Manager. I'm just going to paste that in. Okay, I'm going to click save. From here, we're going to have a couple of different options. So the other thing we want to do is we want to create a variable for our server-side URL. So if we go back to state, we have that state.UKB Marketing, and for you, it's going to be state.whatever your domain is. We're going to go back to Tag Manager. And again, we're going to create another variable. So I'm going to click plus. I'm going to name this one state URL, okay? You could call it anything you want, server-side, container URL, server URL, whatever you want. I'm going to click constant. I'm going to paste that in. I'm just going to also make sure it's a domain, okay? So https:// just to make sure it's a proper domain. I'm going to click save. Okay, cool. That's now a variable. So you'll see that Google Tag Manager replaces, rather than actually putting the actual IDs and the domains in, you can use these variables. It means we can use them anywhere we want. We don't then have to keep going back and copying and pasting different URLs. So we can also select the event name. In this case, I'm happy with page view, makes a lot of sense. And this is going to be choosing if we want just the Facebook pixel, do we want conversions API, or do we want both? So we're going to use both. Now we have a couple of different options here. So essentially what you can do is you can add some different information that's going to get sent through the conversions API. Okay, so we have our customer information parameters. Now it's beyond the scope of this video to talk about how to get these into GTM. To get these into GTM, you need to use something that is going to essentially pick up on that code. So that when someone, for example, submits a form, it's going to push that to the data layer, and then you need to be able to pull that data layer information into GTM as a variable that can be pushed into this specific area here, okay? Because you don't just want to add your own email address or your friend's email address, you want to actually add the email address of the customer, obviously. So the only way that gets into the situation, into Tag Manager, is being pushed into the data layer and then being picked up by GTM. I'm not going to go into how to do that on this video. I can make future videos on how to do that. But for now, I'm just going to leave that as is, okay? So if you had specific data that's being pulled in, you could do that, okay? We need to look at triggering. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to triggering here. Now we're just going to choose all pages for this one and then click save. Now the reason why is I'm happy for that to be on every single page. When I in a minute set up like the lead event, we're going to need to do that in a little bit of a different way. So let's do that now. Let's set up the lead event, because if I just go to my funnel, this is the funnel that I'm going to be setting up my conversions API on and on my pixel tracking. I've got an opt-in page, and then I've got this second page where we're going to offer like a free growth session, and then here is a thank you page. So what I want is when someone opts in, I want to log as a lead, and then when they actually schedule a call, I want it to add a schedule event, okay? So I have a couple of different steps here to my funnel. So first and foremost, what I'm going to do is just open up this second page of the funnel. The reason why is I'm going to need to grab this domain name. So I'm just going to copy that domain name. I'm now going to go to Tag Manager. I'm going to click New, and I'm going to call this one Facebook Lead. I'm going to choose Ads Mirai. Under event name, I'm going to choose Lead. I'm going to leave it as both Pixel and Conversions API. Where it says pixels, I'm going to use my variables to select the pixel that I want. So I'm just going to search this list through Facebook Pixel ID. There we go. I'm going to click that. Under the server URL, I'm going to choose my state URL from earlier. And then under triggering, I'm going to add a plus here. I'm going to click plus. Let's say this is the funnel page 2 brackets lead trigger. Okay, just so that I know. I'm then going to click on the center there. I'm going to choose page view because I want it to be a page view, but I don't want it to be all page views. I want it to be some page views. And I want the URL, page URL, to contain that URL that I copied earlier. So that's only going to trigger now on that specific URL, and that's really important. I'm now going to click save. And then let's do one more finally. So let's go back to our funnel. I'm just going to close that for now. Let's go to the thank you page. So this is after someone has booked. So I'm just going to copy that URL. I'm going to go back to Tag Manager, New, and do Facebook schedule. Tag configuration is going to be Ads Mirai again. Event name is going to be schedule. Pixel, we're going to do the same thing. Same with the server URL. And then under triggering, we're going to do the exact same thing. So we're going to go new. Let's do funnel page 3 in brackets schedule trigger. I'm going to click in the center here. Page views, some page views, page URL contains, and I'm going to paste that in. Okay, and click save. Brilliant. So what that is now going to do is we have 3 events. This one is getting fired off and is triggering on every page. This one is triggering on every page. This one is triggering on just page 2, and this one is triggering on page 3. You can see that here by the different triggers, okay? And it's using that Ads Mirai template essentially, okay? So pretty much we're good to go here. We just need to do a couple more things. So first we're going to go back to the server container. I'm going to click on clients. I'm going to click new. We're going to call this one Ads Mirai. We're going to click on here and we're going to choose Ads Mirai. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to remove this where it says Facebook. We're just going to remove that for a second. Under pixels, we're going to click new and we're going to just add in the pixel ID. So if you go back to Events Manager, we're just going to grab this dataset ID. We're going to go back and just paste it in. You could create a variable, but I'm not going to bother doing it for this one time. Now we need the access token. So this is how we set up the Conversions API. So we're going to go back to Events Manager. We're going to scroll down in settings. We're going to scroll down to where it says Conversions API. And here it says set up direct integration. We're going to click that, generate access token. And when it loads, we're just going to copy that. And now we're going to go back to GTM and we're going to paste that access token in there. Now, we also want to add an event test code so that we can actually test this is working. So to do that, what we can do is if we just go to test events, we're going to see here, it says test your server's events. We're going to click that. I'm going to copy that test code. And then we're going to go back to GTM and we're just going to paste that code in. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to click save. Now we're going to go to tags and we're going to click new. and we're going to click tag configuration. We're going to choose Ads Mirai. And what we're going to do is we're just going to call this one again Ads Mirai. Okay, just like that. I'm just going to copy it. Now what we're going to do is under triggering, we're going to click plus. We're going to call this one Ads Mirai again. We're going to click on it. We're going to do we're going to click custom. We're going to click some events. We're going to click under event name. We're going to choose a new variable. We're going to click on that. It's going to be client name. And then we're going to just call this variable client name. Click save. And then we're going to do client name contains, and it needs to be Ads Mirai. Now it's really important that this is exactly the name of the client. So I've named it the exact same thing, Ads Mirai, with the same capitalization and everything as the client. I'm going to show you that again. So if I now click save, we can see here, if I go to clients, we've got Ads Mirai, and it's set up the exact same way. So it's the same capitalization. When I look at that tag and I click on it, okay, you can see here the tag. If I click on this one, the event contains that exact same name. It's really important that it contains the exact same name. If it doesn't, it's not going to work. So we're going to click submit and publish and skip. Brilliant. We're now going to go back to our browser side container and make sure everything's published over there. So we're going to click submit and publish and skip. Now we need to actually install the tag manager on our site. So we're going to click admin. And we've got a web container here. And what we're going to do is we're going to click install Google Tag Manager. And it's going to give us some code. So this one here is for the header of the site. So I'm going to click on settings inside my web builder. This will look different for you. I'm just going to paste it inside the header tracking code. I'm now going to go back to Tag Manager, copy this one, and just paste this one in the body tracking code and just click save. Now it's time for us to do some testing. So we're going to first start testing inside of Tag Manager. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up a few different places here where we can test. So first of all, we're going to go into the server container and we're going to click preview. Now we're going to go back into the browser container and we're going to also click preview. And it's going to ask us to add a domain name, like open a specific domain name. So I'm going to go back here and I'm just going to paste in the first link to our page one of our funnel. So I'm just going to go back to our tag assistant, paste it in there, click connect. And it's going to load up in a new tab. So you can see here it's loaded up in a new tab. So we have this one over here. And you can see it says tag assistant connected. If it doesn't say tag assistant connected, there's something wrong. It's not done correctly. Okay, so we can see here it shows connected and we've got our server side container as well. So let's just go through this. So I'm going to click continue. I'm just going to talk you through how to make sure that everything is working. So first of all, it's showing the page here, okay, which is free guide, UKB Marketing, cool. When I click on this summary, I can see which tags are fired and which tags have not fired. Now this is the browser side. So you can see here tags fired is going to be the Facebook page view, which is perfect. So I can click on that and I can see that that is fired. These two haven't, which is good. We don't want the lead event to fire. We don't want the Facebook schedule event to fire just yet. So that is all looking good. Now, if I go to the server side container, we can also see on the preview that a tag has fired, which is Ads Mirai. We can see here it's the page view, because it says page view there. So that's perfect. And if I click into that again, I can see where it says messages where the tag fired, page view, perfect. Okay, so that is exactly what we want and everything seems to be working as we need it to. So what we're going to do is we're going to start going through this funnel. So let me just enter my details into the funnel and click send me a copy. And it's now going to take me to page 2 of the funnel. Okay, so this is where people can go through, they can learn more about the work that we do. So this should have fired a different event. Now, one more piece to this, which I'll kind of get back to, is there is a Chrome extension, which is the Facebook Pixel Helper. When you install that, you can actually see what's the Meta Pixel Helper now. You can see the events that fire on a page related to Facebook or Meta. So I've installed that extension. I'd recommend you install it. It's free. And I can immediately see here the lead event is fired and the page view event is fired. So we are already looking good in the sense that we want the lead event to fire and it's showing on that Facebook Pixel Helper there. If I go back to our tag assistant, we can now see the second page is loaded and we can see 2 tags are fired, the Facebook page view and the Facebook lead. So far, so good. If I go to the server side, again, we can see another 2 events got pushed across, the lead event and another page view event. Again, perfect. So far, so good. Let's just do the final page. So let me just book in a call with myself. And you can see here it's taken us to the thank you page. And if I click on that MetaPixel helper, you can see the schedule event was fired and so is the page view. Now if I go back to Tag Assistant and I click on here, you can see the schedule event is fired and the page view, not the lead event, because we don't want the lead event to fire on that page. It fired off on this one, which we want, and now it's firing off the other one. If I go to the server Tag Assistant, again, we can see schedule and we can see page view. So everything's working as it should. Now, I'm also going to just show you this inside of Facebook. So, you know, we copied that event code, that test code earlier. Well, inside of that Events Manager tab, you can now start to see all of this being pulled through. So since I started testing it a moment ago and I was going through the funnel, you can see that everything has now been added. Okay, so the lead event fired, and you can see it fired both on the browser and the server side, and it deduplicated it. So this is where it has two events using the same unique event ID, and it knows that, and then it deduplicates it. So it gets rid of one of the copies so you don't get two leads reported inside of your Facebook ads, okay? So it's really essential that it does this, and it's good that it's doing it. You can see here, page view got deduplicated again. Some of these additional button clicks, these are automatically logged. You don't have to worry about these. This is not gonna impact the main things that we're setting up. This is just Meta realizing that we've clicked buttons and it's tracking some of that itself. Here you can see the schedule event, again, fired and duplicated. So everything's working exactly as we want to. It's working perfectly. Okay, so really pleased there, and you can see that inside of Facebook, which is again where you actually need to see it. So this is great news, and we're literally done. So what we can do now, one final step, is just go back to Tag Manager. And what you want to do is go back to your server-side container. You're going to click on tags. You're going to click on clients. You're going to click on Ads. And over here where you've got this test event code, you're just going to remove that. It's really important. And then you're also going to remove this incoming request URL from Facebook. Just remove it to the blank and click save. Now, when you click back inside of the Ads clients, you will actually see that it populates it with that Facebook incoming request URL. Don't worry about that, it's absolutely fine. We've just seen issues when we do not essentially remove that. So just something to remove at the beginning. Click submit again and click publish, and that's going to publish the server-side container without that test code in it, okay? And you're now good to go. So we saw the data come through in terms of the browser preview, we saw it in the server preview, and we also saw it in Facebook itself. So we've seen in all the different locations to prove that it's set up correctly. As I mentioned, there's other components and steps you can take if you wanted to add some of the data layer components, like when someone submits a form, you want to send that data, hash data back to Meta, which I'd recommend you do to improve your event match quality score. All of those things are additional videos that I can create, but it's going to vary depending on your setup and which funnel system or website builder you're using. But you need to push some of that data to a data layer and then collect that using Google Tag Manager, put it as a variable and put it inside of your Ads setup on the browser container. So again, I'll make future videos perhaps on that, but this is how to set up the initial conversions API using state.io, using Google Tag Manager and the Facebook conversions API. So thanks very much for watching. There's a link in the description to book a call if you want to work with me and my team. We help scale direct consumer e-commerce brands, and we can help you again with hands-on implementation of the conversions API set up for your various different needs. Like I say, thanks very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.